the block is here. Thank you, Mazdaspeed. Came in good condition, looking good. I also got the intake manifold painted up and everything. So just giving you guys an idea of what this is going to look like. Oh yeah, that's going to be a nice setup. But I got to wait for my buddy to let me borrow his engine stand. But in the meantime, we'll do some stuff like installing the dampened PCV plate. For now, I'm just going to be running one catch can. So I got the 2 other ports blocked off, and I'm just going to use the stock PCV to catch can with the check valve, and then back to the intake. Comes with the gasket and everything, and new hardware. Now with parts like this, I don't really worry about torquing them down properly, but this should be 15 to 22 foot-pounds roughly. But I mean, with a 3/8 ratchet, usually 2 fingers, you give it that old snug up, and that's what I like to call guten tight, German spec, you know. What's going on, guys? So finally making some progress on the Speed 6. Got some downtime. Got the engine hoist and got a stand. So the new block is on the stand, ready to go. Before I drain the tranny, I'm just taking a couple things off. So I got the power steering taken off with 1, 2, 3 bolts. Gonna take off the intake manifold, do all that so that I could switch over to the shaved one. Other than that, just got to drain the trans and undo the motor mounts, and it should be ready to lift on out and start swapping shit over. I did the oil cooler too. I'm just going to yank it out. One of the big things is making sure that you can get your upper transmission fill bolt loose before you drain it, because that would suck if you can't. That works, so we're all good. I'm going to throw the straps up on the mounts and get some tension off of it, and then start taking the mounts off. For those that didn't know, transmission is super heavy, so if you don't have a load leveler, it makes kind of pulling an engine a bitch to do, because you're going to be kicking the engine like that as you lift it. You got to lift it higher than you normally would. So definitely recommend that. This is going to be my first time using one of these. I've always done it the old-fashioned way of just kind of sliding the chain along on the cherry picker until you get balance, but this should make things a lot simpler. Rear motor mount is loose. Got these ones off on this dampened mount, and then this dampened mount, we did those ones there. Looks like the engine's just held up on this bolt right here, so I'm gonna lower it slightly and then see if we can get the tension off of it. Go ahead. Yep, right there. Okay, let me try and tap it out. Yeah, it's gonna be a little tough, so I don't think I'll film it. Okay, well, my dad had a good idea. This bolt that was stuck, we put the nut back on a little, tapped it with the hammer a couple times, and then used the pry bar to pry on the bolt a little bit while we spun it with the impact, and it popped it right out. So the bolt is out. The engine is now supported, so we'll go down a little bit, and I think it should just slide out. We'll see. Just have to keep an eye out for anything in the way. All right, so everything is clear. Got it out. Ended up just having to take off this motor mount to free it up. Cleared the JBR mount, and oh no, the stud still needs to get around back there, but it's close, and everything should be ready to pull out here in a second. All right, so the stud on the mount here, this is why the leveler is super helpful. You don't have to deal with that. So I'm going to lower the weight of the engine down. Boom. Now that is clear, but I still have the same height, so we can move the engine forward. Just got to get it around the harness here, and then we should be good. All right, look at that. The engine is free. Got it out. Thank you for tugging on it, Dad. Guiding it. Cleared all the harness. Just gonna check down over there, make sure we're under. Yep. Sweet. The engine is out. Heck yeah. Well, engine's out. New one's on the stand. Gonna start pulling the transfer case, all the goodies, and get it cleaned up. Oh yeah, definitely clean up the engine bay. So now that I got all this out, I'm gonna clean up the engine bay a bit, tuck some wiring, redo some stuff. I got rid of the foam on the left side. You can see that shit always looks nasty. So that's all gone there. gonna delete the AC lines, just clean up the bay. Engine wise, got a bunch off, turbos off, all that stuff. Got a few more things to take off. Front's looking good. Gotta take off the AC and swap that over. But right now I'm doing the exhaust studs, and to get the studs out, if you look, it's the same. I can't remember exactly what size it is. Let's see. 8. So it's like the 8 star bit. So it's the same one that you'll use to take off your high pressure fuel pump as it is for your studs on the back. So if you're having any trouble with this, yeah, I just have a little 1/4 inch drive and handle, boom, pops them loose. Super easy. Then just zip it off with your gun. The 360 died, so I'm gonna keep going. Next thing going on is the AC, and yeah, let's just get it nice and good and tight. No real spec for that for me, so yeah, let's get it on. Okay, let's get these on. Boom, 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 boom. Bam. Sweet. Let's move on to getting the high pressure fuel pump on. So yep, I'm gonna throw this housing on real quick, and I will coat this with a little bit of oil, but we'll get the housing on, and it's 13 to 16 foot-pounds, so I'm gonna do 15 just because I like that. 15 is my favorite number. And then yep, we'll get the other side on right here. With this, you got to push in and make sure that you're pushing in and not torquing it with the E8's torques, reverse torques, because it will bind up in there and you could fuck your shit up. You don't want that. So these bolts are just 7.5 foot-pounds, or that 90 or 60 to 101 inch-pounds. So yeah, don't need a ton of torque on that. And here's the gasket if you need it. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to torque these to 15. One of the big things that people forget all the time is your cam follower. You want to make sure that that's in there with the flat face facing down, and then your high pressure fuel pump is going to, or spindle spring is going to press up against that. Cool, got that on. Doesn't take a lot, but you just don't want to bind it, so I had to use both hands to push it straight down until it sat, and then just keep running the bolts up until it's on there. So yep, fuel pump is on. Now I'm going to put the other side of the coolant line and the EGR with the damping block offs. I'll probably clean up what the previous owner did. They just slathered silicone on this. Kind of wild, but hey, if it didn't leak, I guess, right? And new gasket with the part number for you. Bam. Sweet. All right, one of the worst things to work on with the Mazdaspeed is these injector bolts, the crow's foot bolts. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's loose. Can I do it 3 more times? Oil cooler and filter housing, which is gonna be this gasket here, and then when you get it on, it's 25 foot-pounds. Boom. Sweet. Got the turbo on. And I get the alternator on and all that, so we'll see. So I'm making my turbo oil drain. Ideally this would be a 90, but it's not the end of the world. This will just kind of chill like that, and then I can adjust where I need this to be so I don't have any kinks. I got this off some other guy. It definitely did not fit. It was way too short, but luckily I had a bunch of 5/8 line just laying around. So I highly recommend doing a -10 AN setup off of your turbos, because if you've messed with the stock drain line and the bolts and just trying to get to it when you're in the engine bay, it is absolutely miserable. So this will make life much, much better. And there we go. It is on. No kinks. If it was a 90 off of this, it would be a better run, because then it would just be kind of kicked over, but that could be a future thing. As of right now, I do not care. That is solid. So now for oil line routing, I got 4N coming across. I have it tucked up and under, and it pops out like this. Goes right to my TurboSmart inline, and then down onto there with the 45. Should be good. At least run that for break-in. If I need to get a new line later, that's something I can do, but for now, that'll be just fine. All right, cool. So for the oil feed line, make sure that it's not gonna be shaking around and rubbing on stuff. These little guys here are perfect. I'm gonna use this M10 by 1.5 bolt. I believe this should be the old, gosh, what am I trying to say? The old mount for the turbo brace. So I just opened these up, snipped them and opened them so it'll slide on and hold the line tight. Alternator's on. You can see this routing that I have holding the oil feed line there. It's not touching the block or anything all through here. Comes to this one, comes up and over, and then it drops down right here, and I got my filter as well. Boom, money. All right, injectors in, fuel rail is in. Injectors are in, fuel rail's in. High pressure line is all hooked up. Everything is nice and tight. Installed good. Low pressure line or return lines hooked up. Harness is tucked. And yeah, now I'll start getting the other half of the wiring harness in and run the PCV line. Then we'll get the intake manifold on. Boom. All right, injectors are on. Probably can get this tucked up like that. Yeah, we can tuck this in. I know it sits right here, so maybe I'll just retuck it like that. And then as for wiring harness wise, yeah, this gets tucked back up onto the other side. All right, so this is how I have the wiring tucked. I got the PCV plate line on. It's going to be in the way later, but I'm not trying to put that on after I have the intake on. Yep, everything's all tucked back to here. Boom, 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 looking good. So should be ready to put the intake manifold on. All right, intake manifold is on. Everything is looking wire tucked and nice. Just got to get the power steering pump put back on right there. Starter down at the bottom, do my oil pressure sensor, run some more vacuum lines and everything, and dude, the block's together, man. Oh boy, let's go. Well, everything is on, hooked up, looking good. Wires are all tucked nice, everything is under there. Got the power steering on, just throwing the serpentine on. I can't believe that we're pretty much almost done with it. It's been a while, but I'm so stoked to get this thing running. So cleaning up the trans here. This stuff, if you haven't used it before, Zep. This stuff is awesome. This is literally just 3 sprays and a quick little scrub with a brush and wipe, and it takes off all that caked on grease. Well, this is the verdict on what happened to the old block. All the valves are good. This was cylinder 3 that went down. Nothing wrong with the valves. All are seated. There's a little heat there, but then if you look at the cylinder right there, it started to snap and break right here on the piston, and then right here is where the ringland was for sure compared to all the others. Nothing really bad in there, but then what's crazy is look at this. The bore's like perfectly fine. Has a little bit of scoring, but I mean that could easily be honed out.